Television Network, TSPN. And now back to TSPN News with Tom Slivick. Comprehensive news because in today's world, you need more than just sound bites. TSPN, streaming on the World Wide Web and on demand at TSPN. Well, we're back, and I'm with Supervisor Richard Forster. Richard Forster, we're going to go over that monies that come back for schools. So
yeah,
you have
the secure rural school, the PELT was reauthorized. What they're looking for with the PELT, the payment in lieu of taxes, is a long-term reauthorization, not just year to year like it's been. The secure rural schools, Tom, as I said, went from $300 million the previous year down to $50 million to all states, which is a pretty drastic cut.
Oh.
But this is a great definition. In the late 80s, due to declining timber sale receipts, the 1908 Act, which is when this was originally made, 1908, because of government coming in and taking land, loss of tax revenue. So in 1908, the Act payments began to drop significantly and fluctuate. In 1994, Congress provided safety net payments to counties in Northern California, Western Oregon, Western Washington. In 2000,
was this due, as you kind of alluded to, as the takings clause, where if you're taking property out that you needed to pay back?
That's exactly right.
So this is almost a legal requirement.
Well, it's not a legal requirement. It's year to year, but
okay.
I
mean back in 1909 or 8, when you said it was.
Well, that's when they figured that we need to do something because we're hurting counties. We're taking so much ground into public domain through BLM and U.S. Forest Service. So anyway, they created that Secure Rural Schools and Community Self-Determination Act. Money goes to, about 50% goes to schools, 50% goes to counties. This is the first year, 2015, since then, since 1908, that the act has not been reauthorized. So we have such a lovely Congress right now.
I think we have a need for the money.
Well, I mean, it's just Congress fighting these battles, and nobody can decide, come on, do what's best for the country, do what's best for counties out there. Give you an example. Amador County, we hit, as I told you on the break, 3 low years when they did the calculation. They took your 3-year average. We hit like 87, 88, 89. Our timber receipts were not very much then. So normally, Amador County is going to get anticipated secure rural schools is going to be about $308,000. This year, the loss will be 183, so our net will be $124,000. That'll just take money away from schools, take money away from roads, which is primarily where it goes. Let's take a county like Del Norte County. They have over $1.4 million in revenue on this. They're living off this money. El Dorado County gets $1.9 million. Del Norte County is going to go from $1.4 to $37,000. El Dorado County from $1.3 to $422,000.
Right, but once again, this was monies that was given to the rural schools from taking away the possibilities of being able for the counties to make revenue from timber sales.
That's right. So I mean,
so this was a taking, and now there's no longer any monies for that.
Yeah. So our legislators need to get together on some of this stuff and decide what's best for the country and quit playing politics. And now, because you have a strong Republican Congress, both the House and the Senate, it's going to be the Democrats and the administration that are playing games now. Previously, it was the other way around. So I'm not blaming one side or the other. I'm just saying everybody needs to look out what's best for the country. This is owed to counties because of the takings that are happening. More ground, and you know, some of it might be good. I mean, Theodore Roosevelt, a Republican, started this by taking land out of private domain and putting it into public.
It was like for parks, and it's
right.
You know, like you could say it certainly has grown tremendously from that.
Yeah.
From
creating
Yellowstone.
So both parties have had a play in this. Both parties should be responsible for trying to get a fix and quit playing games with us. Let's get some long-term fixes. So these are fights every year and costing a lot of money. People go back to Washington.
Not so for giving the lands back.
Yeah, people go back to Washington and lobby this stuff, and I don't know if you ever get the land back. But anyway, next item on the agenda is another great program coming from our State Water Board, the Grazing Regulator Action Project, or the GRAP project. And if they would have put a C in front of that instead of a G, it would have been more appropriate for the program. But we have a letter from Sierra County that pretty much says it all, is that this plan is not well thought out. They don't know what they're doing with it. Nobody really has an idea. It's just another program, another way that they're going to regulate, that they're going to charge people that graze on land, graze their cattle on land. They're going to charge them more fees, and there's going to be more rules and regulations in place, and they're doing it under the auspices of water protection and environmental protection and watershed protection. As Sierra County points out in their letter, there are 3 or 4 programs already in place to govern these things. Why do we need another program from our state water board? You know why? To make government even bigger.
Right.
It's just unbelievable what they're doing here, but this plan is clearly
What
not...
are the grazing areas here in Amador County that would be affected?
Every grazer. Every grazer. Whether it's sheep or cattle or turkeys, you're going to be paying fees and you're going to be regulated.
Is this just on public lands?
No, it's private ground. This is all private ground regulation. Anyone who grazes cattle,
so you're going to be
sheep,
charged to graze turkeys on your...
you're going to have to file the paperwork, and you're going to have to be regulated based on whether you're grazing next to water bodies or anything else, because what they're saying is that cattle out in the field have excrement. That excrement, when it rains, gets pushed down into the waterways, and that causes issues.
So this is regulation into private property as well. As
Exactly.
an example, I mean, I'm not putting words in your mouth.
Right, but like Sierra County said, though, there's already programs that monitor these things. Why do we need another program? Also, when they started this last year, the whole process...
That one's a local program. Is this a federal program?
No, this is State Water Board.
Oh, okay.
But when they started the initiation of this program in 2014, they had 4 private invite-only sessions for people to comment on these things. And I have the meeting agenda here, and basically they were asking a lot of questions. But session 1 was environment and environmental justice session, invite only. Session 2 was ranching and related industries. Session 3 was government and public agencies. Session 4 was academia and other interested parties session. I've had my fill of academia on these things, and I've had my fill of in the environmental community pushing more of this garbage on people that are just trying to make a living out there.
How about the way that the meetings are run, Richard? Are they seemingly to funnel the decisions that they want?
I think
to get that consensus that they want?
Yeah, usually the way the state does this is just what they did on disadvantaged communities, where they just did their studies. They have a series of work groups just like this. They have workshops after that to take public input, and a lot of people say, we don't want this. And then what they do after that is ignore all the people that say we don't want it and implement their plan just like the way they wanted to implement it to begin with. So we just need to fight this one, and we need to repeal some of these other programs that are on the books. You know, most cattlemen, most sheep people out there are good stewards of the land, because if they're not, the land is not going to survive, and they're not going to do as well. The grass is not going to grow as well, and their animals aren't going to get fat and be taken to market. It's just another intrusion of people into the private sector. So that's the way I look at it, Tom.
All right.
We have a big, couple more things on the agenda, but a big hearing tomorrow, Tuesday afternoon at 1:30, and this is on the Board of State and Community Corrections. We just finished going through an RFQ request for qualifications process. We had some firms that joined together, architectural and building, and bid on that, and I was part of one of the review processes. We'll probably talk about that tomorrow, but we have selected a great couple of firms to work on this, and it'll be the process of adding on to our existing jail. As you know, we released the last $25 million that came from the Board of State and Community Corrections because we couldn't afford the other $20 million on top of that. Right. So what this will do is talk about our process of what we need to do to get an addition onto the jail, how many inmates it would house, I think this is great for the county, great for our...
And of course, a lot of this is necessary because housing for criminals is being pushed back to the county level.
That's right, and it gives us more housing, but the big thing it does too is gives us programmatic areas, because that's a big part of funding from the state, is to give these guys treatment before they get out, guys and ladies, and give them treatment so that when they go back in the community, hopefully they have resources and hopefully they're not going to be back in the jail.
All right, very good. Okay, so that's it.
That'll be at 1:30, and that'll go for probably about an hour and a half, but it should be really an interesting session tomorrow afternoon on telling or working with our sheriff and working with probation, and this is just a great plan to take care of the inmates the way the state wants us to do it, and hopefully the BSCC, which is what their initials are, hopefully we'll have a good working relationship with them. Part of the process is getting them to approve our plans. One of the groups that partnered in this is very specific and very good at working with the BSCC. In fact, one of the gentlemen is a former employee of theirs. Okay, well, we're on the subject of getting information, so why don't we tell people about RCRC on their website and the great work that they do to people that might not visit that site, but might want to look at some of the things that do affect all of the rural counties and their positions and things. I think it's rcrc.net. Right. But basically, if you Google RCRC, there are a couple different RCRCs out there. One is a religious group, but if you go to... I think you come up on top. If you go to the Rural County Representatives of California, but I think it's rcrc.net, and a lot of good information on there on all of these programs that basically RCRC is... you're basically not in an offensive mode too much with the state, you're in a defensive mode. Yeah, they're basically almost the lobbies for the rural counties. Oh, they are lobbying for rural counties, but CSAC, the California State Association of Counties, also partners with RCRC and lobbies on behalf of rural counties. CSAC lobbied heavily for the fair funding, and they lobby heavily for a lot of other issues out there. And it's very important to have lobbying in today's world. And thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again next time on TSPN.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.